I'd like to welcome everybody to ZILA, to the Nicholas County Board of Education Special LSIC meeting. And tonight we're going to hear from Mount Lookout, Mount Nebo, Summersville, Birch River, and ZILA. At this time, if you would stand for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Join the board with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one action item that we need to take care of tonight, and that's the approval to join the partnership with the New River Community College for a high school-based LPN program.
As you know, I've been working with New River Community Technical College, and we do have everything worked out now for an LPN program for our high school students, so that they will actually be able to test for their LPN license upon graduation, and then after the initial year, students will have the opportunity to also earn an associate's degree in this LPN program. It's the first of its kind in the state. It's my understanding that Higher Ed Policy Commission is pretty excited about it. I'm hoping that we can get some money from them for this first year to help us and help our students in completing this program. So what I'm asking is that this board for approval in moving forward with this partnership. I will have more information on the 14th from the Vice President of New River as far as financial, how much it will cost the students to participate in this program. As you know, I would prefer to find a way to pay for it so that all students may participate, but I'm looking at all the resources at this time. On the 16th, the community college is willing to meet. I am extending an invitation to 51 students from this year's current freshmen who will be sophomores, this year's sophomores who will be juniors, and this year's juniors who will be seniors to participate. Also, upon approval by this board, I will make a Facebook post notifying students that if they were not contacted by a personal letter from me, that they also have the opportunity to inquire and participate in the meeting on the 16th to determine whether they think this is an avenue that they may be interested in. So after, if the board gives approval for this, I hope to have a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement between New River and this Board of Education on the 20th. And if the board is so inclined to approve that, then we will have some students actually starting their online program February 27th. So it's a very quick turnaround. It's taken quite some time to get this worked out. And if we're able to proceed with those classes on the 27th, we should absolutely have several students who will be able to graduate as eligible to take their LPN license their senior year, so in August. So if we're able to do this with accepting initial applications on the 16th, then all students who are able to pass the TEAS test and meet prerequisites, I hope to have a big white coat ceremony in August for those students. So it's a really big deal. It's a great opportunity for our kids.
Where's that meeting?
It's going to be at the board office.
I move that we approve joining in partnership with New River Community College, the high school-based company. I'd like to also say that this is the first, and we have now the HEPC, Higher Education Policy Commission, now looking at this for other school systems. And it was just 2 years ago we started the program with Clinical State University to offer kids an opportunity to leave our school system with an associate degree, either in education or in business. And so we've really done a lot under the direction of our superintendent, so I'm very pleased to announce that.
Thank
For the second half.
Second. So we have a motion by Dr. Penix and a second by Mr. Green. Is there any further discussion? We'll get to that. Any discussion?
Just what time's that meeting on the 16th?
6 o'clock. It'll be from 6 till 8.
At the board office?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so Mr. Berry suggested that we call a work session so the board would attend that.
It's actually, I mean, the board can attend as long as you're not voting on things. I mean, a work session I really don't think would be appropriate unless you called a work session, recessed it. I'm not really sure. The purpose of the meeting is to have, the principals will be there from each of the high schools, the college will be there, and we're actually going to be accepting applications from students, talking one-on-one with students and with parents to make them aware of, you know, it's going to be a very rigorous program.
So do you want us there? Would you like
You're
us?
welcome to attend. I mean, you can.
Or would you rather us, because we're going to have to approve the memorandum?
You will have to, yes, the memorandum, you would have
On
to
the
approve
20th.
it. You've given, you know, the go-ahead. If you give the go-ahead to do this, you know, you're always welcome to come to any of the meetings. It's just, you know, it will just be more of a session of working with the parents and with the students and accepting applications.
Sort of like us attending graduation.
Yes.
We're all there.
You're all there, but you're not, so I don't think there's a problem, to be honest with you. And you've already, if you vote tonight to, you know, to move forward with this, you're already in agreement, so.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to number 4, LSIC reports, Mount Lookout Elementary, you're first.
Good evening. I'll try to talk loud enough because I don't really want to carry the mic, but thank you for being understanding that I didn't bail on you last Monday night. I just was still quarantined and not able to be at the meetings. I'll be there next Monday to present that short and sweet presentation. But at Mount Lookout, my first day was actually the LSIC presentation, literally about a year ago, January 10th, when I was there. So this has been my first full year there, and I've really enjoyed our time together. There's been a lot of strengths which I will share with you. One of the things, though, that in improving our school, not just through attendance, behavior, and academics, is just the safety concerns. And just even on the front and the very last slides are just, you can see how transparent most all of the schools are to be able to see straight in the main entrance. So some of the first things that we did were cover the doors. So with the window curves that you can see out but not in. So just some small things and major changes for the safety of the children. Our meeting dates for this year, in which we did review our strategic plan. The first thing, when I got there about last February, I did a needs assessment and surveyed the teachers of what they felt they needed. And there was a plethora of questions, and we will go through that data, but some of it was what PD the teachers felt that they really needed, and it fit seamlessly with what our data proved as well. So I will address that a little bit later. But as far as looking at all of that data, I've included the teachers, our staff chairs, and the Title I staff and our TISs. I won't explain all of this. I'm going to go through the data, but there's lots of slides of different things that we have taken a look at to truly address where are our weaknesses, where are our strengths, and what are we going to do about it. This is the West Virginia Peaks data, which is the raw data comparing the state to the county to Mount Lookout. There is a summary slide, so I know your eyes, you don't have to try to figure all this out. This breaks it down by strand, based on 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and all of the different strands in ELA and math. So if you just want to take a look at the averages, these were definitely strengths with the school. If we look at the 3rd grade average for the state, and this is last year's GSA data, 2022, pardon that, 67% for the state, 64% for Nicholas County, 78 for Mount Lookout. For fourth grade, 72 for the state, 71 for Nicholas County, and 89 for Mount Lookout. Fifth grade, 71 for the state, 72 for the county, and 82 for Mount Lookout. So I have to say kudos to the teachers. They are doing an amazing job out there. They are a really great group of staff to work with. Then here's your math data as well, the PEAKS data that was the raw data, and the difference between it and the data that we look at as administrators that is broken into 4 categories is this below mastery, at or near mastery, and above mastery. This at or near mastery is kind of a quagmire, basically the differentiation there. And so when we break it into the 4 categories, that'll be a little bit easier to see. And again, our math results. The averages in third grade, if you look at the state, 71%, Nicholas County 74%, Mount Lookout 81%. For fourth grade, the state average was 69%, Nicholas County 73%, Mount Lookout at 89%. If you look at fifth grade, we had 62% for the state level, 63% for the county, and 87% for Mount Lookout. So our math is even stronger than our ELA, and our ELA is quite strong. So this is then the accountability data when you take a look at the Cambium that breaks apart that at or near mastery and mastery. So you see all 4 classifications, below mastery, partial mastery, and above mastery. And when you combine the mastery and above mastery, you can see that in third grade we were 69% proficient when we look at state targets. And the third grade ELA was at 44% for our ELA. For fourth grade, we are at 61%. This asterisk just indicates that even though this is the reporting number by the State Department, when you add these up, I do realize it's 62. But this is the difference there, when they were actually at 101% on that. For fourth grade, for ELA, we are at 72%. There, that was the highest ELA score. And for fifth grade, we're at 65% proficient, compared to the state at 34, the county at 35, and we're at 65. If you take a look at the ELA for math, the state's at 41, the county's at 37, we're at 65. So I just really want to thank the teachers. And if you even take a look at the science, and I know we're so honed in on ELA and math, but even the science scores, if you take a look at the various categories, even in the strands with physical science, the state's 62, it was kind of 53, and we were at 75. And it's just a consistent trend. So even though it may not be our area of specific focus now that COVID's kind of passed, we're making sure that we're hitting those science and social studies standards and all of those extra areas, not just the ELA and math focus standards. When you took a look at bounce scorecard, lots of blank areas because we are such a small school. If you take a look, we are either exceeding in the green in every category or meeting. The only issue that we were addressing, and necessarily from this, is our attendance, and I will explain that further, but a lot of that was going to be explained last Monday, so I'll give you a snippet of that. We have a 3-prong approach, which, again, you'll see next Monday. We're doing a statewide approach, or a school-wide approach, a classroom approach, and an individual approach. If you look at actually the school-wide approach, we are doing a bell-to-bell program where the kids get to go on a field trip based on a grant that I wrote so that we could do individual trips per 9 weeks if they have 2 or less excused absences. And that means parties and signing out. They must be excused for those. We had 47 go in the first 9 weeks. We had 50 go the second 9 weeks. And for our small school, that's almost 50% of our kids hitting the mark. So we were very pleased with that. We had a big donation. We are also doing monthly drawings. So every kid that is perfect attendance, that does not have any excuses at all. We do a bicycle drawing every single month, so whoever's had perfect attendance, we are doing that. And then at the classroom levels, they are spelling out, we have hollowed letters of attendance, and the classes are earning rewards as well. So it is definitely trending upward with our attendance. Last month, I know we had the highest percentage of attendance rate in the county. This month's down just a little bit. But the attendance is working, and I think it's reflecting in the academic side of things. When you actually look at the balanced scorecard again, the state targets were realigned post-COVID. And if you could take a look at the end of 2022 for last year, it's 69.54% for the ELA target for our school. We have broken it down and taken a look, and again, you can compare the school to the county to the state. When we take a look at it, for our subgroups, we didn't have any that were a focused school. But we did take a look really hard at our students with disabilities population. And my special ed teachers, my Title I staff, and myself, and the classroom teachers are addressing this every time that we have PLCs. We have some spreadsheets made, and we're using that Excel data specifically to track where those targeted weak areas are for each of those kids. And we have that tracked for each individual test that they do, so that all of our students that have an IEP or all of our students that are in the SAT process, we are heavily monitoring that and making sure that we're addressing the needs of our students with disabilities as well. Same thing with math. You can see our targets, and I'll show you where we are at the end with this. But again, our only true area that we were taking a specific dive into is our students with disabilities population. And then this is our percentage summarized for you. So you saw the annual WBDE targets. We are a little below target, but as you saw the other numbers, the school's really doing well. So yes, we're making amazing growth, but we're still striving because we're not all the way there. So we are definitely working towards getting that. But overall, our average then for our ELA was 60.3% at the spring of 2022, and then our average for math was 65% across the board. So after looking at all that data, now that's kind of where we took that as where do we go from here. So our areas of focus based on really pulling that data apart was looking at geometry focus, which I mentioned at one board meeting to you, and our writing programming being consistent. That was a direct result of the needs assessment survey that I did with the staff. They said, we all are using something different. We know we need to be more consistent. So we pulled a variety of programs in. We looked at the graphic organizers, we looked at the rubrics, we looked at how to grade it, and we voted as a staff. Which program do we feel meets the needs of our students? And we are going with a writing by design, and right from the beginning program that we have been trained in. We are actually doing training in-house so that it is sustainable. We don't always have to go an outside source to come in and do the PD. So it has been implemented this year, and I'm really anxious to see how that will translate over the years, because it's a kindergarten through fifth grade curriculum all the way up. So they're not learning a new type of writing, they're adding one little piece each year so that it's not so overwhelming from year to year. And then we know that phonological awareness and phonics, the foundational pieces for reading, has definitely been an issue across the entire world with all of our coding. So what caused the issues that we found to be our weak areas? It's probably going to be consistent with a lot of what is shared tonight from the principals. Lack of in-person instruction for the foundational years. Left us with phonological awareness and phonics gaps, which normally we would address in K1 and 2. We're having to address a lot of those skills even in 3, 4, and 5 now because there were definite holes there. So that's where our scheduling has come to play. Our math fact fluency, again, it was just the amount of time they were able to be in the classrooms. With reduced instructional time, we know the state even put out prioritized standards. We had to. That wasn't an option. So it didn't allow for a full coverage of everything. So that's where, as we're all seeing, some of those small holes, and we're trying to find the best ways to fill them. So how did we pick geometry? We know how the ELA gaps were there and what we need to do, and we had already addressed that with getting a consistent grading program and how we were addressing the phonological awareness of things. So which strand did we look at? We picked geometry specifically for this year simply because when we looked at all the strands, it was the lowest in 3rd grade, it was the second lowest in 4th grade, and it tied for lowest in 5th grade. So we picked that strand to focus on this year. Doesn't mean that's all we're teaching. We're teaching math out of the yin yang. However, every Friday, what I asked all of the staff to do was to spend 10 minutes, and we call it our geometry jams time. They start with some fun music, they have a brain break, and they know that that's their engaging time. It's definitely, it has to be hands-on, and they're engaging with the same geometry concepts and terms every Friday, and they're building upon that. And then I will go through this briefly because I know Ms. and Dr. Teacher has shared a lot of the IXL data, but this is just an overview of the beginning of the year to now with each individual strand of our ELA math. You can see our ELA growth is phenomenal here, even just looking at the above and then the on grade level for the green areas. Our reading levels, our reading strategies. And this one was, when you really looked at it, was amazing. At the beginning of the year, we were at 50%. We're at 84, 86% now. And we've still got 2 more 9 weeks to go. So I really believe that this is helping fill some of those holes pretty quickly. The writing strategies, you will see some gray here because this doesn't kick into second grade. So when you look at anybody's data, you're going to see some of this with the writing strategies piece. And our grammar mechanics, which we have decided in our last PLC is definitely still going to be now, we're going to shift a little focus, but it's able to fine tune it throughout the year by using this information at every PLC. Our overall math now, which our math was our greater strength out of ELA math, even from last year's GSA scores, but you can see that the growth is phenomenal there. We're above 75% already. And number and operations, and our algebra, and then our fraction strand, which fourth grade just started hitting fractions, so I'm very pleased with that already. And you can see that the geometry being our weaker area, but by making it a focus, we are eliminating the weakness. And our measurement. So then what strategies are we using? IXL was just something that was a consistent piece to take a look at the data. So in order to address all of the weak areas or the weakest areas so that we can make sure that we're making great growth, this was probably the biggest thing that we needed to make sure occurred, was the small group instruction so that we could truly differentiate. And that's a scheduling issue. We are able to now address, our small groups are very small, and that's through being able to have the benefit of being a Title I school as well. These screeners are used heavily. This was a consistent Title I piece, the phonological awareness skills test. So all of these sub-tests are just kind of like you see those IXL screens. These are specific areas of phonics, whether that's a concept of words, syllables, all of it is broken down into such small sections that we can use flexible grouping, and those kids are in and out of groups all the time so that it's exactly what they need. If that group is too difficult for them, we'll put them in a lower group, and if not, we'll continue to accelerate them and move them upward. I mentioned the Geometry Jams Weekly. We're using Haggerty Phonics, which is now being consistently implemented in K1 to 2 every single day. The thinking maps goes hand in hand with the right from the beginning and beyond. They're the parent company of our writing program. So it's not only graphic organizers that cross all curriculum content areas, but it's the specific writing program that we're using K through 5. And then the secret stories, the Katie Garner training that we had at the beginning of the year. It's great listening to the kindergartners explain these stories. Whether they know you're there or not, they're explaining it to each other, and that's dividends there. But when you're addressing the strategies, if the staff doesn't have the appropriate PD, then the strategies necessarily aren't going to be as effective. So these are just a series of PD that the staff has been involved in this year, and I would say these two are really the ones that we have focused on heavily. This is where we brought in the trainer from the company initially to do the initial PD with the entire staff, and we were going to do it in person, and then COVID hit some of their staff as well, so we ended up doing that virtually. But Mrs. Sizemore is being trained on that herself, so that she then is meeting with every PLC group and making sure we're using all of the strategies so that it's done with fidelity and consistency. More of our PD training. The Osmo piece is a big piece for us right now. We, Mrs. Samantha Murphy, one of the TISs, and myself and Mrs. Sizemore wrote a grant, and we have 45 sets of Osmos that have been purchased through the grant. We are actually getting ready to do on the 28th of February a parent engagement piece where they're getting to come in. There's a student-led piece up. The students are actually learning the programs first. We're videoing them, and then they're going to virtually give the presentation. So we're using technology to do a technology training, and the students are leading the charge in that. But this is something that a lot of our families can't necessarily afford or have at home. We use it in a lot of our small group stations for math fluency, for spelling, for a lot of various phonics pieces. So now they're going to get to have them at home. We have 45. That night we're going to give them away to 45 families. So they're going to get some of the same academic components to use at home that we're using in the classroom. So we're really excited about that. Again, I love our in-house trainings. So making sure we're into the 10. We're making pretty good strides to getting there. Specifically, throughout the building, you can see that we're using the I can, we can statements and taking the standards and using student-friendly language to make sure our students actually understand what they're trying to gain, what skill it is they're accomplishing. And yes, I can do that. And making sure that this was consistent. When we looked at, and I listened to through monitoring and observation, sometimes the vocabulary might change a little bit. So we are making sure that through PLC, we're focusing on making sure that that vocabulary is consistent from grade level to grade level. And we have the interruptions, there's no interruptions during our core time because of scheduling. We made sure with our master schedule that special education, Title I, and all small group instruction was occurring at exactly the same time for that grade, so that we could do that flexible grouping and make sure all the kids are getting exactly what they needed. And that's not just for remediation. We have a lot of kids that need accelerated. I have a kindergarten group that most of those kids are at the last end of first grade, some of them are at the beginning of second grade. So we're making sure to accelerate those kids. And this is some examples of our small group instruction and how it's monitored. It occurs daily, and of course it's on lesson plans, but I'm in the classrooms pretty much every single day, and monitoring is at least twice a month, 15 to 30 minutes at a time. So I'm aware that it's occurring, and I'm aware that things are going as it should be. And a lot of this groups, let me go back just a little bit, you can actually see some of the student-led as low as kindergarten of some of these kids actually being able to lead other students within the classroom. So trying to use that leadership model with the children. With the intervention model, it is the consistent model that's used throughout with our at-risk learners, making sure that that small group's meeting the needs of those kids. And that it is definitely the different pieces that we're using is making sure that we're adapting to the needs of the kids, which is also includes the ISL piece. They do use extra math for some fact fluency, and with the technology, this is actually some of the research projects that they're doing and they're presenting to the parents, in which the parents are actually getting an opportunity to come in and work with the kids on some of that research and do some of the presenting themselves, which when you give the parents the opportunity to stand in front of a classroom, it changes the ball game a little bit because they're not used to getting up and presenting in front of anyone either. So they're pretty intimidated by that at first, but it's been a good thing to be able to offer to them. And then one of the things that I think has really grown, and I know the doors were closed at most schools just because of COVID, but getting the students, parents and grandparents and community members back in that school has been huge. We started last spring a lunch and learn program. And this is just one of the pictures of the track, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. One thing that we did start with this year, though, is we wanted the community to feel a part of it. So we started our very first day of school with a superhero back to school day, in which the staff and the kids dressed up as a fictional superhero. So it gave them something to get excited about for coming back to school. And on that day, then we had a superhero, local superhero assembly kickoff for the first day of school. We're invited firefighters, police force, nurses, you can see Miss Martha's in there. We had some people from the gorge there. We had pastors there. We had a plethora of local superheroes. And we did a kickoff with the kids there at an assembly. So on day 2, then after we dressed up as fictional, on the first day, the second day we dressed up as real life superheroes. So then of course every kid got to wear their favorite back to school outfit on the 3rd day. So we really wanted to empower them and show them you can do anything you want if you set your mind to it. So the lunch and learn program, we have each grade level a different day because kind of like Jimmy, I don't have the space to accommodate to hold everybody. So we do one grade level at a time in which the families get to come in and eat with their children. We have special tables set up, and then they do some type of engaging reading or math activity based on that grade level. And that's what some of the track you saw, there were different stations set up around the track that had reading activities, math activities, STEM activities, in which the parents were engaging with the kids. This was our Dr. Seuss event that we kicked off last year. And this year, it's Dr. Seuss's The Osmo, so we're going to integrate the technology and the Dr. Seuss components together. This was our math and STEM evening, which was each individual grade level had specific things going on in their classrooms based on their standards. Trying to instill the giving back with our students. Our Christmas with Santa, of course, we can't miss out with Santa, and we all know locally that he's a hero in our little area. This is one of the biggest things that I feel has really been beneficial as well, is getting the parents back in for a variety of things. But our Read Aloud program has went off the charts. We had 17 parents. We've had others come and said, do you still need readers? No, we're having to schedule them like once a month just to get everybody in. So that's been a great program this year. And other things that they have helped with throughout the school. And I want to give all the credit to my staff the teachers, because I do feel like that they are definitely, they're climbing and continuing to go upward. So I'm just proud to be out there and being able to be part of that team. So, but any questions?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, Mount Nebo.
I don't know if I can talk that fast or not.
I had to.
That was some fast talking.
There's a lot of information to get in. Sorry. I was impressed.
I'm gonna try this swiping thing too, let's see how it. It's gonna go really well, I can tell you. Okay. Good to be with you tonight. I just want to start to say one thing. I was at that lookout that night. That it was almost our first day at that school.
It was my first day.
Okay. And that was a good night. And anyhow, so I'll get. I want to show you. I did my test scores a little bit different than what I just. What I'm going to show you right now is just my what happened to us last year in our classes that were from meeting standards or exceed standards, and you can see, and I'll go through them just pretty fast. Like I know you've seen these scores, but I've got the state score, I've got the county, and then my score. But you can see in third grade, this is ELA, the state is at 36% of the class the state that scored. That's where they scored, about over a third of them. Nicholas County, we were in third grade, we were 28, and I'll do this twice throughout my presentation. I'll point to Mrs. Johnson, and this was her class in ELA. Her score was 59% of the class. In fourth grade, 43% for the state, 41% for the county. We were 62. And in fifth grade, the state was 41. We were 37 in the county. That was good. And my score was 57. In math, you see the state was 46. We were 49 in the county, and my score was 76. I'm going to stop right there because and what I meant a minute ago. That night at that lookout, I was starting to brag on IXL, and I bought it last year myself. And Mrs. Johns was working with my teachers, and we could tell things were looking pretty good. And I remember one of you might have asked me. First I said I'm hoping next year I can come back and show the board what really happened at my school. And when we started, as that last year went on, after we met there in February, and we tested our kids and saw what they had achieved and what they had accomplished in ELA and math. And she had a class of about 21, I'll guess at it or something like that. But when we saw their math scores coming in, we were pretty well. We were absolutely excited about how she had done the IXL with the Go Math and how she had worked it. But anyhow, we'll get a little bit more of that later. But okay, in fourth grade, 42 for the state, 45 for the county, and I was 62. This is still math, of course. And in the fifth grade, of course, I didn't say a while ago, but these are now these scores. When I say fifth grade, they're now, of course, in sixth grade, and 34 for the state, 35 the county, and we were 50. And we test on the general summative assessment. We test science, and you see the state was at 30, county at 24, we were 36. Okay, I'm going to read a lot of this because I don't want to miss something, but we did our needs assessment again, and all my teachers were involved in data analysis for reading. I'll do the reading, I'll do the math. We use PALs and Cold-Wrights and CBAs and weekly assessments in reading. And we feel at Mount Nebo, this is our strengths. Less than 10% of our K through 3 students are ID in PALs. For those students not ID in PALs, their strength is phonemic awareness and phonics. Ability to sound out unknown words, mastery of high frequency words, comprehension at or near grade level, fluency, and above average level in 4th and 5th grade. Now that's what we feel our strengths are. Our reading weaknesses, and let me just say something right here. When I heard Julie talk about, and you'll see it somewhere else in my presentation, that we know all those times those kids spend at home, and we were trying to help them through that iPad, through everything we were doing, but it really came home to me this fall when we started school and I got a 2nd grader. They came actually out of Wally County, but had never been in school. A little girl had never been in school, and I thought, and I couldn't believe it whenever the mom told me that. And but you know, we even started the SAT process pretty soon because, and probably I started the SAT process too soon because I thought, I mean, they told how low she was, but that little girl, you'd see her today in a 2nd grade classroom after what we're middle of the 3rd 9 weeks, something like that. But it's amazing just going to school, just being with a good teacher, just being with her peers. But that was just a story that as old as at my years in the school system, how that could be possible that I would ever get a student that never go to school until they hit 2nd grade. But so back to our reading weaknesses. Of the less than 10% of our K through 3 students identified for PALs, their weaknesses was phonological awareness and phonics skills. Identifying genres, informational understanding, need to improve writing skills. The root causes of our weakness in reading is sometimes our home support is limited. Sometimes, of course, our kids that need help there, but they have speech delays, phonemic awareness, consequence of not doing work, and writing strategies, and lack of foundational skills. Now, our needs assessment in math, all teachers are involved in data analysis, of course, for math as well. We use our Excel data, we use our Go Math pre and post test results, and the CBAs to determine the strengths and weaknesses in math. Here's our strengths in math, we feel. Using manipulatives and charts to determine the answer, mastering addition and counting, math facts fluency, mental math, multiplication facts, addition, subtraction of multiple digit numbers and operations, fractional understanding, extra IXL practice, and of course some that's required, some of it we do more. Working toward mastery, we know 80% is mastery in IXL. We try to go for the 100% if we can at all. And our math weaknesses, lack of memorization of context clues and applying the rules where needed. Solving multi-step problems, adding and subtraction with regrouping and barring, story problems, fractions, multiplication facts, fluency, geometry, measurement, not enough practice in math lessons. Before we had IXL, and this has helped a lot, but we felt we needed more practice in that Go Math series. Root causes for weakness in math. Sometimes it's poor involvement, lack of number sense, and recall math facts. Okay, and so here's our teachers, some of our strategies. They're using differentiated online platforms such as IXL, Extra Math, and Go Math online called the Personal Math Trainer to address at-risk learners and for enrichment. Also, each teacher effectively communicates with families. We use Remind, Class Dojo, phone calls, monthly newsletters, email, and social media to keep our families informed. We have virtual manipulatives. We have our Facebook page, weekly newsletters with expectations and weekly skills listed, and IXL recommendations based on IXL Arena. Okay, professional development. Our teachers are dedicated to professional development. For example, one of our teachers is taking what we're called the letters training. 3 of our teachers have completed the Katie Garner's Secret Stories training. This is our 3rd year of using iPads to aid in learning at school and at home. Our TIS created a STEM library, which provides technology products for teachers to check out and use in their classroom. The TIS constantly teaches teachers about tech resources to use in the classroom. Monthly, of course, our special ed teachers and monthly special ed meetings. We had the IXL training, we had ALICE training, and we do some, of course, we all do cyber safety. Okay, and this is our thoughts, what we believe in to help us get into the 10 in the state. Our teachers are knowledgeable in their grade level standards. This is evident in their lesson plans and their instruction in the classroom. We are protecting instructional time by limiting distractions. Instructional time is always precious, so we try very hard to eliminate every distraction possible that would take away from their instruction. And under small group instruction, our teachers need to incorporate small group instruction as a vital part of the learning day. Our teachers have identified every student who needs reading and or math help from our interventionists. We are thankful to have, actually I have 2 former kindergarten teachers to help my students and teachers during the small group instructional time in the classroom. We also have a COVID aide who at the discretion of the classroom teacher helped with small group instruction as well. Under interventions, at-risk learners have been identified through a variety of formative and summative assessments. Teachers are constantly communicating and reviewing student needs and addressing those within the core curriculum. Teachers address enrichment and acceleration through differentiated online programs and project-based learning. Okay, so I did want, I know she came with me last year and talked over Mount Lookout. I wanted Ms. Joss to, from that time till now, what IXL has, and I know I talked to you all, and Dr. T talks to you all a lot about this, but I want Ms. Joss to show in our school what it's really doing. And she's my 3rd grade teacher.
get started with this. So he talked about the second grader that came that hadn't been in school. I have a third grader this year that walked in the doors and he had COVID had hit when he was in kindergarten, and so he had missed a lot before that. First grade, his mom got aggravated because they were required to do virtual work, so she homeschooled him for all first grade and all second grade. And when he came into third grade, he was reading 7 words a minute. And I thought, oh my gosh, and I even told Mr. Terry, I said, there's just no way. But between the 2 interventionists and the first grade aide helping and the special ed teacher, and then him working at home, he's reading 90 words a minute now on a second grade level. And he was like below preschool at the beginning. And it is amazing just what all of those resources coming together, and everybody was on the same page what they were doing, and it's just been amazing to see him grow. I brag about him to anybody who'll listen. I don't mention his name, but I have this student that I never thought I would see.
To see his excitement too is what.
He doesn't
brought
ever
back
want to
today.
miss school. He loves school. If he doesn't feel well, he wants someone to bring him medicine, but it's just amazing. But he asked me just to talk a few minutes about IXL, so I know y'all see all the data all the time, so I'll just go quickly through it. But I just wanted to show the growth that we have through these. We have our kindergarten and first grade ones. Kindergarten's not on IXL as much as the rest of the grades, but she still really tries to use it to enrich what she's doing in the classroom. And they've gone up 43 and 58 words, or 58 points this year in ELA and math. First grade has had a huge growth. I don't have my readers on, so I can't see. But they have gone up 116 in math and 120 something in ELA, which is over a grade level worth. If anyone has readers, I could use them. Second grade has gone up 140 in math and 158 in ELA, and they have some of the best scores that we have in the whole school. Our second grade has just exploded since they're actually in the school the whole year. We've not had any quarter teams, we've not had anything out like that, so we're seeing a really big difference with that. I think the lowest class that we've had this whole year is my group of third graders, and I mean, I know we say we blame everything on COVID all the time, but they really got hit the hardest. And most of them were at a late first grade level when they started, but they have made so much growth. 120 points in math and 135 in language arts. Our fourth grades, they were phenomenal last year. I don't know how they managed to grow this much this year, but they are at 113 points in both. And then our fifth graders have gone up 117 in math and 146 in English language arts. But what I found interesting, I started this at the beginning of the year when we did our first diagnostic for our screenshot. And our fourth graders had 52% at or above grade level, and 63, that was in ELA, and 63% in math. And when I look back at last year's self-assessment scores, they had, when they were third graders, they had 69% that met or exceeded standard, and they had 82% that's in math. So in the ELA, they were at 69. But when we considered the students who had moved away from the school and the students who had moved in that affected the roster, the numbers were very, very comparable. So if all the data that we're getting this year on where the kids are meeting standards and stuff, I think I'm really excited to see that because I want to see how they're correlating together. Fifth grade last year, they had 53% at the beginning of this school year, in ELA, at grade level or above, and they had 43% in math. When they were in fourth grade with the summative assessment, it was 54% in both ELA and math, and their roster didn't change very much from the end of fourth grade to the beginning of fifth grade. So I think we might see some really good results this year if we keep going. The one thing that I did notice is we score way higher in IXL than we do in our CIAs because we've started doing our February testing, but they look at the whole summative assessment for the entire year. So like my students haven't even seen geometry yet. So whenever I get those scores and I start getting a little sick to my stomach, it's like, no, we haven't got there yet. We have to wait because it really bottoms out. But IXL takes into account where they are. Our current levels right now, based on where they should be, our third graders are at 73%. This is their IXL diagnostic scores. In ELA at or above grade level, 82% in math. Our fourth graders, their current levels are 73% at or above in ELA and 84% at or above in math, and that's very consistent with what they did in third grade. They're a really consistent group. And our fifth graders have 86% at or above in ELA and 91% in math, and that's just that 91%. I'm anxious to see how that plays out because that's a really high number. Our teachers use IXL as primary extensions of the standards being taught in the classroom. Every week we change what we're assigning based on what skills they're working on, and I think it's just a great tool for us. And like I said earlier, this was just my last one, and I said after summative assessment, I really want to sit down with a couple of peers and go over all of our numbers and kind of crunch how they did through the year on IXL compared to what the summative assessment results are, just to see if it's truly indicating their abilities. So does anyone have any questions? And it was a lot shorter than what I did last year, but
You made a reference in there to CIAs, which you're starting to do now, as opposed to looking forward or working toward the summative assessment. What is the CIA?
it's probably the wrong initials. Is it
Yeah.
CIA?
Yeah.
Because half the time I've been calling it CPA at school and they keep telling me no. But it's like a benchmark for, I'm sorry. We have a lot of initials in the school system, but it's like a benchmark for our GSA, the summative assessment that we do in May. And it's really, it's quite comparable. I mean, it's like giving them the summative assessment in February, kind of just to see where they are on their levels. Right now, what?
The problem is, Dr. Penix, when you take those CIAs, you haven't taught everything yet, so they're not going to be as high.
So I was at 20%. I haven't done my ELA yet because we've been hit really hard with flu and strep and everything coming and going. But I did my math ones and we were at 20%. That's what I said, like, just makes you a little bit. But we just started fractions, which is a huge part of third grade, and in the geometry part, we've not even touched, and a lot of the questions, I think, are geared toward the geometry, so.
I think it's a valuable thing to see the progress that you're making by measuring the kids rather frequently with IXL and that type of thing. I think when you get to the summative assessment, it's a one-shot deal for the year, that just a one-shot may not be as great as the whole picture. And I think the issue is we think we should know from what we're seeing in this that our kids are learning and they're knowing what they're supposed to do. So.
And you have to take into account too, some kids are not good testers, and I know we don't like to think that, but some kids it does not matter what they've learned in the classroom, they don't show that as well on the summative assessment is what we think they possibly could. But hopefully, I like the way that the questions are worded too on IXL. A lot of them are more higher level thinking, like as they build up on their levels, because they start them off at a really low level, and then you have a harder level and then a harder level. But before they can master the skill, they have to answer some pretty hard questions. So,
Seems like we see a lot of problems in third grade. Do you think that is because they have not had 2 years of schooling? And now they're improving very well, aren't they, once they get back
They
in?
are, but third grade consistently over the years, because I taught third grade at Hampton Creek too. Third grade's the first year they're tested. It's the first year they're really being held accountable for independent learning, like, because supposedly they've already learned to read, so you're more teaching them the higher level and there's still a lot of learning to read in third grade, but it's a more independent environment than K-1, 2. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, a new step.
and it's hard. It's hard on the kids. It's hard on the parents. It's just completely, it's a difficult transition. So I think that's one reason we see a lot of lower scores and stuff in third grade. But for sure, my group, I can tell that COVID hit them hard.
And how about this, her group, she only has 11 kids. She's had 11 kids all year in this third. But they read kindergarten on that February, March, then their first grade year was pretty much a disaster. Their second grade year got a little better, but now third grade year.
11's not.
Mount Nebo,
In third grade year, they've got new processes to learn, and they're advancing.
Yeah, even typing their written responses and stuff is a skill that they have to have because nothing's handwritten anymore. But yeah, so.
On the IXL math, when they miss something, are they then shown the correct process?
Yes, it has explanations underneath on what the correct answer was, why it's the correct answer, why theirs was incorrect. It actually drops them back a few points too, so that they have to redo it a few times before they can build back up. And some of the lessons I think have like videos that they can watch a lesson on it. So in addition to like me teaching this skill, but
They're using that a lot at the college level now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Things like fractions, I always teach from the book and then I reinforce it with IXL. But we did not touch our book last week on fractions because the kids don't learn as well with paper and pencil now. And so I taught equivalent fractions and ordering fractions and stuff using IXL. And then this week we're going through the book. So I did it backwards this time because they do way better with the technological aspect of it. They have a screen in front of them that sticks a little bit better than
So Mount Nebo had IXL first, didn't they? Did you have a year before the other schools adopted it?
About a year before the adoption, for the county.
So everybody could see how well your scores had jumped ahead, and it's been a good thing for everybody.
We felt that way about last spring, but after
How many counties in the state have adopted this?
Sarah Lee, Dr. Lee has a round full.
Of course. There are very few that have done it K-12. There are several that have done it K-8.
You've been at it longer than probably anybody else. You guys started the IXL. What do you think about it now?
I really like it. The year I started there, they're in 5th grade now, and I thought I was going to a small school and I would have like 15 or 16 kids, and I had a fourth of the school that first year. I had 25 out of 100 kids, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I found a free version of it for 30 days, and I did that free version the 30 days before testing, and I just started going through their short, like what I thought were their weaknesses and assigning those, and they really, I think Emily, you were in that group, weren't you? Yep, the big class. Yeah. Can't get 6 feet apart either. I tried every way possible, but, and then last year he bought it for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and then this year everybody's using it, so I think
steady improvement.
every year. Since then. So, I think that's one reason they have the 91% in math now, is because their math skills have been growing so much over the past 3 years with it.
So, what year are we in on Go Math?
Next year will be the year for previewing, and we'll have new materials the following year. So this is year 5 of the 6-year contract.
Because our math scores have went up since we changed to Go Math overall.
Maybe a little.
And so, are you all, do you hit multiplication facts? I take on that. So I know most of these math series don't hit that as hard as what I feel they should. So are you all doing that?
I like what she's doing. We're starting, she started that probably,
1st of September, 3rd grade.
Math minutes or something?
all 3rd grade.
Well, they have, we start with zeros, and they have a quiz every Friday, and then by Christmas break, they've gone through 12s, and then, I just timed them, they take a really quick one, some of them are slow, so if they don't get it, answered, I have to come up to my desk and I'm pointing, I said, what's this one? I said, if they can tell me it's right, if they can't tell me quickly it's wrong. But after Christmas, they have a quiz every Friday, and it's like whatever I want to put on it, and I make the quiz on Excel, it's no longer paper. And they just have a couple of minutes to do it, and it's hard on them. But I've been using one of the aides too. She started playing my kids for 5 minutes at a time for flashcard review. Because if they can't do multiplication facts, that's 3/4 of my standards, just about. By the time I do division and fractions and area and everything, I mean everything.
Everything's got it.
Everything goes with multiplication. They want those multiplication fact sheets. Any more questions? Thank you.
Can I talk real fast and finish this thing? I gotta show you a few more. I know I read fast and I get excited, but I get excited about some things here I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. And I'm clear down to my attendance. This is my opinion, but I want to tell you, I want to talk about attendance. I want to talk about some good things we feel like we're doing over my school. But you see right here, like I said, my last school, this is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th month. We're in the 6th month now. Last year I had my percentage of, I've heard Tammy Gregory talk about. I think it's just raw. What the first month of last school year, 96.45% of my kids were there. Overall for that month. This year, look at this, 91.86. And we started. I think most principals probably would agree with me. We started the year really early with RSV, and a little bit of COVID, but flu in early and strep throat, and then as we got into the school year, you could see it pretty well stayed about the same as last year. This is this year, pretty close in that. But what I will say to end this, we just today had 22 out this morning. I normally have pretty good attendance, and I had 22, and now we've got the strep throat again, and the flu A, so it's just I feel like we've had a pretty tough year in attendance wise. I don't know about the rest of schools or throughout every school, but for me, I kind of think just we mostly got away from the mask, and our kids got really close together, and they've just caught all kinds of things. They just catch it. They're trying to build up their immunity, I believe. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. But I know I want to have better. I want,
and I strive to do better every month, but I sure do like to check on them and see how I can get them to in school and see how. Okay. Then I'm gonna tell you about, I'll talk fast. Some good things have been happening over there, and I know, and this is through this gal right here, we had the best literature fair in the fall I've ever had. I had 37 participants, and I had 19 to go on to the county, and I had 8 to go on. I'm talking about kids. And you can see there what place I won at the county that on the Glenville. I'll kind of summarize these, not read it to you, I know time-wise, but I do the money that's allotted to me. I do a Friday backpack program. The sheriff's office come by. I loved my career day last year. I want to tell you that I had it about May, but I had a nurse practitioner, a West Virginia State policeman, a chef, a barber, a military person, and a fireman. What I tried to do is not get everything where you had to go to college to learn about. Each one of those visits, each classroom, we gave them a few minutes to talk to the kids. And this spring, I'm going to have different people than what these careers were. I've got a read aloud program, volunteer program, parent coordinator. I do raise money so our kids can take a field trip that's worthwhile. Talked about my run club here that I do early mornings in the fall. My Heritage Day, I'll just say this, last fall when I did the Heritage Day, the kids kind of learned how to make apple butter, how to make apple cider, a loom, how to make a quilt, use a loom, folk dancing, bees, how to make them honey, and a folk band. That was Jason Heiss brought some different instruments and different people to play for our kids and tell about the instruments. We did the American Art Association. This is pretty neat. The kids dressed up. A lot of them did to look like me, like old, and we had that night. We had a family reading night, and they won, and some of them won some door prizes. But many they brought their parents, and they read and they took some AR tests. Okay, here's a pretty little girl that come with me tonight, and I didn't tell her what to say, but this is Emily talking. And Emily, can you talk loud? Do we need a mic? Well, does this mic work?
I seem to remember you being pretty loud.
Tested. Well, I believe, can you hear me? Yeah. I went to Emily and said, Emily, just tell them about a program at our school that is kind of unique, and some of you are doing the same thing I'm doing, but I didn't tell her what to say. I want Emily to turn around and tell about her MBA program at school. Her mother's Amanda back there. You want to turn? Did you see your paper?
Yeah. Alright, so MBA is an acronym for nothing but attendance. We get rewarded with the fire truck spraying us, playing bingo with prizes, Christmas crafts, yoga, Easter crafts, and we have some dances. The people who sponsor us, our rewards include Yoga Ladies, Miss Debbie, Miss Anderson, Wilderness Fire Department, Shelly Dance, and Mr. Carter. MBA is a reward for kids who are at school bell to bell for the whole month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She's a fifth grader. And I just want to end, Dr. Teedrick, I put this in school due, and there's an area coming to our school that probably the asphalt's about that thick. And I'm hoping that if we have anything this summer that I can be there, we can help where big trucks come in, all our deliveries, but I'd like to have a little bit of asphalt work at my school. I know it's expensive, but I'd like that's one of the needs I see around my school that we could improve it and make an improvement on. Y'all have any questions? Thank you all.
She's
Davis.
keep going. Yeah.
So, why don't you introduce your assistant principal?
I have a new assistant principal that I hope is going to stay with me for a while. This is Mr. Joe Paxton, and I think this is your second week, maybe? Yes.
Sorry, last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday, yep. So he's with me, and hopefully he'll be there for a while. We've had a lot of turnover this year. I can't keep custodian, so we're going to continue. Maybe we get one hired and I'll stay.
Glad to be here.
Very fortunate to have.
Yeah. So our core beliefs at Summerville Elementary is that we need to involve not only our teachers and our students, but also our parents and our community to help our students achieve. In our strategic plan, we have 4 goals. We need to see achievement in ELA and math. We're looking at attendance and we're looking at our community involvement. And when we look for our needs assessment in our areas of need, and we broke down like our CIA and our West Virginia General Subject Assessment, our big issue is writing. Our kids do really good on the reading part, and then writing brings our scores down. And writing has been pushed off to the side because when we were on COVID, and it was English and math, and writing was not something that you can really teach virtually. So we really sat down and thought, what we need to get on the same page. So we brought in the 6 traits of writing, which the 6+1 traits of writing we're really working on. And we're trying to build that consistency throughout the grade levels, from kindergarten to 5th. We use that same verbiage, the same type of styles, looking at our organizers and making sure the kids understand them from one grade level to the next. And in math, our big issue is geometry and measurement. And we know that geometry and measurement is always at the end. So we thought, okay, we've got to get that throughout the entire school year. So we're trying to look at embedding that from day 1 all the way through and using our STEM lab to help with that. Our strategies to help us get these goals met, we're looking at our core instruction, and our teachers work together in our grade levels to look at the standards. How are the standards being taught? Are we using that higher level thinking skills? Are we actually teaching what West Virginia standards tell us to? We have our small group instruction. Each grade level has their own built-in time for English. Small groups, so kindergarten's all at the same time, first grade's all at the same time, and so on, but they do not overlap. That way my interventionists, which I have 3, can work with all grade levels, and all 3 of my interventionists work with K, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in English. And we're lucky they have enough time that I have pushed them into 4th and 5th grade math, and they help with kindergarten math. We do PLCs, we have grade level PLCs, and they work once a week during planning together to do that core instruction planning and looking at the objectives and looking at their data. And we have vertical PLCs, and our big push for this year's vertical PLCs is writing. And that's what 3, 5, and K2 are working together on making sure they go through the 6+1 traits of writing. How are we using those? I also have a second grade set of teachers and a fourth grade set of teachers that are working on Writing by Design program. We bought it for those two. They're putting it into the classrooms. It goes right along with the 6 traits of writing, and they're sharing out to their colleagues. And my 3rd and 5th grade teachers liked what they heard so much, we did go ahead and purchase it for them so that 2, 3, 4, and 5 will all be using Writing by Design next school year to help get that writing scores up. We have our PBIS. We promote pride, a good attitude, wise choices, and being safe. Our teachers teach these expectations. We have expectations for the classroom, for the cafeteria, for the playground, for the bathroom, and for the hallways. They know what they're supposed to be doing. It's the same words all the way from kindergarten to 5. They know how their expectations are for each of those areas. We practice those the first few weeks of school, and then we try to highlight one a month, just as a reminder of how to act and what we're supposed to be doing. And then we have some just tied-in rewards for that, like a gotcha ticket. If we see a child doing something extraordinary or something really good, they get a little gotcha ticket, they get their name announced, and a bear paw that they get to decorate. We do a drawing once a month. We do a VIP lunch. If we have kids with really good behavior, then once a month they get to go have lunch in an extra room with me, and we watch a movie and they eat lunch with me. But we just try to acknowledge the good in all of our kids. And we also have been pushing technology with our TIS, co-teaching, planning within the STEM lab, trying to push that technology in, not as a tool, but as a tool that you can use, not just an extra something to help embed our academics. We have Title I, and currently we have been without a Title I teacher this year, so I've tried to step up and help get all that stuff with our interventionists. And we have 3 phenomenal interventionists who are retired teachers who've been with me from forever, and they know what they're doing and they can keep it together. And we just kind of sit and plan and make sure we look at the data. They do the community awareness with the kids to see where they need to have. They do their groups. They pull out 5 or less kids in each group. They each have like the low, medium, high group based on need. And we do keep up with the data charts and the attendance, and we just kind of work together. We have a parent coordinator who is really working with us really well. She's new this year. She has a lot of interesting ideas to help with our parent nights. She's really taken the Read Aloud program. We've got quite a few people in there reading this year. She's really tried to push that. She's helped with our library and everything. We have our after-school program in conjunction with Save the Children, and we average about 50 kids a night. It's between 40 and 50 kids an evening. It runs Monday through Thursday until 5:30 in the evening, and they do math and reading, healthy choices, gym, and a STEM activity. And then they also feed them dinner, so we get them down to the lunchroom about 3 o'clock and they eat. Then they come upstairs and they do a rotation. We had Summer Boost this past year, and we'll have it again this year, and they average anywhere from 50 to 60 kids a day, and they run that through 6 weeks during the summer. And then we had Kinder Boost this year also, and we only had, we had about half of our kindergartners attend that. We'd like to see more of our kindergartners come in for that. With attendance, our counselor and social worker really talk to the parents about the need for those kids to be in school. Our social worker does house calls if need be. We've had some housing issues with some of our kids this year, and she's really tried to work to make sure, what do you need? What can we do to help you? How can we get the kids here? and communication. We communicate with our parents. If the kids are missing a lot, we'll send a message and say, out with the class dojo, hey, what can we do to help you? Or our social worker makes a lot of phone calls, we'll even send out attendance letters with the absence note. All they have to do is sign it and say why the kid is absent, just trying to get them, we need this information. Our parent involvement, we did a meet and greet before school started, and I have the data on the next slide. We had a lot of our parents come in, and that's one of the big things. They start asking in July, when it's that meet and greet, when we really get to come in. And we did something last year different. I actually had the schedules done before the end of the school year. So the last day of school, we let the kids do a move up. And we plan on doing that this year if I get the schedules done before then. We do student-led conferences. We had one in the fall, and the kids get to come in and show their parents what they've been doing, and they have data folders in their classroom, and they can go over that with them. And we'll be getting ready to do one of those in March. Our parent involvement activities, because we're so large, it's hard to bring all the parents in at one time. So we took that and take it down by grade level. So we did one in for kindergarten at the beginning of the school year, so that we could show the parents how to use the iPads, to give them some information about how they can help their kids with reading. And I did a math game center with them, and I gave them different ideas of things they could do with their kids at home to help them with their math skills. And we let them come in and just be involved with their kids. So I went over the math games that I had a list of them for, and I had them available, and then I let the parents and the kids actually play the games and interact with each other. And the same thing with the reading workshop. 5th grade did theirs in December, and they did a winter painting. We had one of our local artists come in, and they did a follow painting, and the kids and the parents interacted together and created a painting. And we also made blankets together. The parents and the kids made blankets, and we donated those over to the Webster County Nursing Home this year. So we took them. I have a staff member whose mother's over there, so she took them and donated them to them this year. We're getting ready to do a 2nd grade parent night, and it's all going to be based around all the places you will go. So we're going to do like a read aloud and some game activities with reading and math games. They're going to build a balloon and hire balloon craft, and then we're going to, our 2nd grade all have been doing the Math Wizard Osmos. So we're going to set those up so the parents and the kids can show the parents what they've been doing with that. And then we'll have 4th grade, and they do theirs all around the one and only island. They read that, and then we give them the one and only ball. And we do activities on that. And then 3rd grade does a campfire theme, and we do the skateboarding with them. So we try to get the parents in so they can have one evening with their kids, and the kid and the parent are involved together. We use Class Dojo to really get that message out. I will individually go to the classroom page and put up, and I did RSVPs. I just posted it yesterday evening to the one that's coming up, where you come, so we know how many kids to plan for. We put all of our activities up there for them so that they know what's going on. And our teachers will message back and forth using Class Dojo. They put up their weekly plans so the parents know what's going on. But that's a big communication, because parents will use that a lot better than they will see in paper, because it's there and they can pull it up and see it. Our community involvement we've got to do a lot more this year. We have our Read Aloud program, which Randy Angus, our parent volunteer, has really got off the ground and going really well this year for us. We did a Heritage Day back in October, and we had, how many do you think? 13 different stations that we let the kids rotate around through, and got to see, like there was a stained glass beekeeping. Somebody brought in some farm animals and showed them chickens and goats, quilt making. We just had all kinds of people through the community that came out. Blacksmith was there, and the kids really enjoyed it. They got to go to each rotation and see what all heritage of West Virginia. We have our Lego League junior robotics program. Fifth grade did theirs early on, and they had to build a sustainable building. Either it had to withstand an element like earthquake, fire, or something, or it had to be handicap accessible, or what was the other one? Economic or environmentally friendly. So they had to pick one of those and build, and it had to have the WeDo robotic piece involved in it in some way. They did their little project, they made their little model, and they did a show me poster, and I contacted the Career and Technical Center and said, can we have some of your kids come down so they can present? So they sent me some of their Project Lead the Way kids and some of their education kids up there, and they come down and the kids get to present to them, and we give them 6 little special awards, and they all get a full, and it's a big thing. And 4th grade did Mission Moon, and so they have to build a rocket, and then they have to do how to live on the moon, how to get the water or air, how to survive on the moon. So they have to build this whole project about that, and then the project lead the way, the education teachers came down, they got to hear their projects, and we gave them 6 special awards, and the kids really like it. And it's good for the Career Center. Those kids really enjoy getting to see that stuff too. And we also got to have our first responders lunch again this year. And so we had invited any of our first responders that had kids in this building first, and then we just opened it up to all of them. We probably had, 10 people for each lunch, so probably about 30 people come out, and we had one of the, what's it called, that donated the food. We had one of our local caterers that she donated the food for the first responders, so they got, I don't remember. I can't remember. And we had little food for them, and they would go out in the cafeteria and sit and eat with the kids, and the kids just loved what they thought was missing. And so we had firemen and EMS and police, and they just came and had lunch with the kids. Our professional development, we did a teacher academy in June. That's when we really focused on our writing. What are we going to do to help our writing? And so we got to look at Writing by Design and another company. And our 2nd and 4th grade teachers said, hey, I really would like to try Writing by Design. So that's what we went with that. They also got some time to collaborate and talk about small groups and get some things ready for that. We always do at the beginning of the year our staff handbook review and just talk about all of the procedures and things like that. The teachers did handwriting without tears training, their studies weekly, which is the new science curriculum. We've done IXL training with Alice Smarthands. We have sat down and are getting ready to, on the 20th, break down our CIAs. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th will take their data, because we did them last week, and look to see what the kids are accelerating in and what they still need to know before we move and make a plan for the rest of the year. And of course, we did some Writing by Design. Our into the 10, we're really heavily looking to make sure our standards are being taught through our PLCs and lesson planning, and they've got the objectives for the kids up and talking to the kids about what the essential question is, what they're trying to learn in that unit. And we plan all of our activities with minimal disruption. So anything that we do, like attendance awards or anything, I do that during their planning time, so the classroom teachers aren't disrupted at all. Our small group instruction, we've got the grade levels with the same small groups, and they have small groups every day in ELA and math. And our interventionists take time to do small group time. Our special ed, that's when they're working with their goals. Our interventionists are working, and we also have GATE, I don't remember what that is. It's the gifted program. Priscilla Jameson is housed at my school, so I utilize her as much as I can. So she works with some of our kids with acceleration, and she works with small groups and tries to, do some fun projects with them during that time. All right, so down, if you see, this is where the current diagnostic level is, and I pulled this Saturday night. And this is for their English, that's math, and that's their average monthly growth right now. So they're growing, and most of them are growing enough to where they will span a year within the school year. So we're getting there. And, you know, they may not be where they need to be, like 4th and 5th grade, but they're getting there. We've struggled. 3rd, 4th, and 5th just struggled. They've been the ones that have been affected with this whole shutdown the most because they missed a lot of that essential. Our attendance data, I figured this year our attendance data was just going to go down because we no longer have, you know, they can't just say, I have COVID symptoms at home, V1 thing. I figured we were going to see a pretty bad, steep decline. But so far, it's been pretty good. This last month, we've had the flu, we've had strep, we've had the stomach virus, and it just keeps repeating. So we're in that, everybody's sick mode right now. We do a bell-to-bell award for our kids if they're there, no tardies, no early sign-outs for the month. They get to come in, and we've done crafts with them during their planning time, and you can see December, we had a hit right there at the end because the 22nd took a lot of them out, that broke it out. But it's being consistent. Our 9 weeks, 2 or less excused absences. So we're running there. We're trying to do anything we can to encourage them to come to school. Our kindergarten parent night, we had 14 families attend. We did a story walk event with the after-school program. We did a story walk outside of the building, and we opened, and anybody came got a book for free. We had 33 families attend that. We had 10 families for our 5th grade parent night. 90% of our families attended a kindergarten parent information session. That's something we do before school starts. We invite our kindergarten parents in, just the parents, and we go over, because most of them are new to the school system, we go over all of the information with them about how to drop their kids off, try to figure out what bus they ride, all of the information that we need before they come to school on the first day. We had 90% of them attend that. We had 85% of our families attend our meet and greet, and then 75% of our families attended our fall student-led conferences. Now that number will go down in the spring because I'm against baseball and softball. Okay. And so this is our little showcase.
At Summersville Elementary School, we have created 2 teams to help promote leadership opportunities for 4th and 5th grade students, a student council and a student technology team. At the beginning of the year, students elect student council members, 2 from each homeroom, to serve as leaders for their classroom. As members of the council, students share ideas and promote awareness of school and community needs.
I'm Maya, a member of the Student Council, and I'm going to tell about some of our projects. For a community project, we gathered items for the animal shelter. We have also shared ideas for Spirit Week and try to make sure everyone at our school feels loved and welcomed.
At the beginning of the year, students can also apply to be on the Student Technology and STEM team. These students serve as our SWAT team, students wild about technology. As members of the SWAT team, students learn new technology and coding skills so they can support younger students with STEM projects and assist with school-wide STEM events.
Hi, I'm Maddie, a member of the SWAT team. This year we assisted with 2 Project Awards Day, where we helped other classes practice coding with Code and Go Mouse, Wily Robot, and other STEM activities. We helped after school with a coding kickoff, and most recently we planned a snowman escape room for a school-wide attendance award. We've been learning about the 3D printer and included it in our escape room.
My favorite thing that we have done this year in the STEM lab is sorting out the robotics Legos for 4th grade to do.
Something I enjoy about being on student council is planning events at our weekly meetings. My favorite event we have planned so far is our Halloween dance.
I like being on the STEM team because we're learning about 3D printing.
My favorite thing about STEM this year is helping the little kids with the escape rooms.
My name is Paige Rosa, and I'm on the student council team. I love that we can bring important topics and happiness through our teamwork to our school.
We wanted to show that because we're trying to build some student leadership through those two types of teams and just give the kids a voice and say, hey, what do you want to do? We will try to make it work if we can. So we really took some of their ideas and said, okay, well, that's good, but let's limit it to this. We're good. We'll do it.
They like to STEM, do they?
They do.
They
They
really
do.
do. They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go virtual.
Dr. Lee, some as well, but you're doing a largest elementary, they do not have a Title I teacher. Do not qualify.
We just can't find
No, they
anyone.
are Title I.
Post.
It's just vacant.
We just can't find anybody. I think.
It's still posted.
Yeah, the day is coming where we have to rethink what we're doing now. Jerry, did you see that? Kevin,
Okay, I'm gonna try and go fast because I have a lot of slides. So I'm gonna try and go fast. We believe and expect all to reach success fairs, Birch River Bears. Our vision statement, Birch River Elementary strives to empower students for success today, tomorrow, and lifelong. Our goals are to create self-disciplined, productive citizens who through their kindness of character succeed in their pursuits. Our current enrollment, as you can see, second grade is my highest number of students, 17. Lowest number, these kind of just fluctuate. I've had 4 new enrollments this week, so. Most frequent reason for withdrawal, homeschool. Our demographic data, I know you can't see that, it's in the paper I passed out, but this is kindergarten through 5th. I took out pre-K in this. 63 students, 36 male, 27 female, 18 considered homeless, 9 with IEPs, 2 with 504s, 19 in my SAT process, 5 I've referred, 13 in speech services, 11 are being raised by grandparents, 12 23 are receiving Title I services, 19 absences with 10 or more in the first semester. And our after-school program has 23, and minor behaviors throughout the year have about 13 students that are repetitive. Broke this down a little bit bigger so you could see it, grouped it by my subgroups, and then male and female, 57% male, 43% female, which in classrooms sometimes creates a little bit of a rowdier dynamic. Academics, we track them through multiple assessments, PALS, IXL, STAR, Wonders, GoMap, the GSA, the CIA, as well as informal teacher assessments. I'm using ELCs, EL days, LSIC meetings to analyze data collected. And through this process, we schedule professional development, instruction evolves to meet the needs of the staff and students, and action steps are set up to address areas of concern. Academic services. So we've got IEPs, 14%, 504s, 3%, SATs, 30%, referred, 8%, pretty sure those are going to qualify and roll into IEPs, so that's going to increase this number. And then I'm servicing 37% of my school through Title I and after-school program. Kindergarten, we had this amount of our students ID'd on PALS beginning of year assessment. This is our IXL snapshot for the middle of the year. If you look at the X's and you go across, you're going to see how many, like one student, how many of those categories that student is falling in. The more categories that student falls in, the more likely they're going to track to lowering the score here. You'll see that as I go through these grade levels. That was math. This is ELA, IXL. We've got one above, and the rest are on grade level in kindergarten. First grade is my group to watch right now. Math, they're performing above grade level. Majority of them on grade level in the IXL snapshot. That's in both ELA and math. Second grade is where you really start to see these differences in, if you look right here, here's the categories. And you start seeing the differences with the assessments and the categories starting to all clump together. So they're IDN, when you start the beginning of the year snapshot, here's where they're far below on level. This is where you're seeing them fall in more than one category here, in the subgroup categories. Usually if you see them hitting 3 of those subgroup categories, you're going to start seeing some data in the red. This is second grade. Again, this is my largest class. This is also that group, that pre-K, the number changed. So you've got an influx of kids in that group. The number of students is larger. And this is the group moving on to my third grade next year. So this is the group you're going to see assessment data on next year. Third grade, we add an assessment. You've got PALS, IXL beginning of the year, IXL middle of the year, CIA on level assessment. So IXL mid-year snapshot compared to the scores I'm getting from the middle of the year CIA assessment. Again, that's a half, we're halfway there, so hopefully that goes up. Third grade, again, you're seeing that cluster when they're not mean standard, more of those subcategories.
Fourth grade, I'm just gonna let her kind of scroll through those and see what they look, those are all in there for you. Fifth grade is a hard group at Birch River Elementary. It's a very small group. It's very, very high in services. Academic growth, class average versus my subgroups. So whole class, kindergarten 13, and again, this was from November 1st because they didn't have their iPads when they done the first snapshot in our Excel. So the whole class grew approximately 13. Homeless average was 20. And then absences was equal. First grade, 110 was that's their growth. 130 was homeless. SAT growth was 90, attendance or absences 10 or more, 90. Second grade, 98, homeless growth, 102, SAT growth, 104, absences 10 or more, had 32 points. Third grade, 114, 107 for homeless, SAT was 146, and absences 10 or more, 143. So that was for math. There's the next one. This is ELA. What I'm seeing is ELA, I'm not growing nearly as fast, nearly as much as whole group, whole class growth in ELA. Math was a little bit better looking than ELA. But I'm also seeing a parallel between absences and growth. So because of this data, my action plan, course, master schedule, I'm going to create 2 hours of ELA, 1.5 hours of math with instructional small group time, utilizing my planning teacher to schedule and create more instructional small groups. And I'm going to protect educational time. Principal presence in classrooms, sub when no sub is available. Walkthroughs, observations, curriculum and small group monitoring. Math win groups, 3rd through 5th, twice a week, 45 minutes per group, and student behavior observations and interventions.
She is one of the principals that does sub when there is no sub, by the way. She's done it for me several times.
Academic action plan, Title I services. I have a half-time Title I teacher and 2 interventionist teachers. 30 to 40 minute interventions in 3 to 5 days a week. We focus on 2nd through 4th grade. And for the 2nd semester, we're adding kindergarten. We have WIN groups in 3rd through 5th, parent trainings for ELA and math, a half-time parent coordinator, parent volunteer training, organized partnership with West Virginia Read Aloud program, and we organize family engagement activities. We have the 21st Century Save the Children program, after school, summer boost, and kinder boost. We have the WIN groups for math. We're going 30 to 45 minute blocks of intervention / enrichment 2 days a week, and ELA we're doing 30 to 45 minute blocks of intervention or enrichment 3 days a week. We're using the IXL action plan. We're going into the diagnostic arena 1 day a week. We are focusing 20 minutes a day in ELA and 20 minutes in math. 3 days a week we're doing the on-level stars, teacher assigned. 2 days a week we're getting into that wheel, and we're going to the lowest standard, and we're getting the students where they need. We're doing monthly proficiency challenges by class, group jams, and some teachers are even doing quizzes and tests. The SATs and interventions, we have 19 student service referral. First, that paperwork is completed,
initial meeting is scheduled within 10 days. We have meetings every 9 weeks. We set goals, we monitor goals, and we adjust time, frequency, and a rate of improvement for each student. This is just a little bit of information about the sets. The ones highlighted have been referred. Professional development, we've used the county level PD on curriculum, county level PD on supplemental platforms. We've got school level PD on times, needs, on anything that is needed. So whatever we decide we need, we figure out a way to get that PD in there. SAT training, math talks, back fluency activities, school culture and climate, talking to parents, TIS, early elementary. This, I don't know whose idea this was coming from the county level, but kudos to Tony, Teresa, and Cindy Shelton who are coming into those early classrooms. This was going to change. This is going to change stuff here. And then the Sydney coaching. This is just the log of the professional development that we have done. Academic action plan we use for the counselor. Proactive, we're going into the gym time. They're doing whole group lessons. They're pulling out small groups by need and individual by needs. She's doing observations in some behavior classrooms. And then she collaborates with the teachers. She's fabulous. Split grades. Split grades creates a little bit of the dynamic that is hard to manage sometimes. And I just want you guys to see this. This is a schedule of split grades. This is a schedule of one teacher. I know we're a small school. We are a small school. I know it's just a couple kids that you're looking at, but you're looking at 60 minutes plus interventions because one group has to be working on their iPads while the other group's getting whole group instruction. The group I have coming into 3rd grade next year has a range, according to IXL, from going from kindergarten to 4th grade. That's one grade with a range of kids in this, all the way from kindergarten to 4th grade. But I have teachers having to teach 3 different grade levels. They're fabulous. They work hard. They work really hard. This is what one teacher looks at in one grade level. That's the manuals they have to go through, the teacher manuals. This is 3 grade levels. So I wanted you guys to see that. Moving that 2nd grade into 3rd grade next year, that's going to be hard. Attendance is collected through WEBUS. We're collecting the weekly averages. We're also doing a monthly attendance averages, whole schools. Yearly attendance trends through Zoom West Virginia. So this is the absence history since 2018-19. This is the current year. It's not a whole lot of difference between pre-COVID to now. This is the side-by-side, first month, last year, this year. So there's not a whole lot of difference. You can see a drop right here in the 3rd and 4th month, and we got hit hard. We got hit with flu, got hit with RSV, hand, foot, and mouth. Hit our school pretty hard those couple months right there. But we're kind of keeping the same average, a little less.
And the community member possibly that was a lot of absence.
Yes. This is a closer look of what it's trending week to week. And again, this drop was those sicknesses. This spike here was a 2-day week. What grades have the most chronic absent students? I'm looking at right now 4th grade and kindergarten. with the most chronic absenteeism. This is just, again, the record of our attendance by week. You see that drop in those 2 weeks where we had the sickness hit, and of course, the reasons of the sickness. Bell to bell is tracking just below. We've exceeded the attendance threshold goal 7 weeks of this year. We've met the attendance threshold goal 10 weeks this year, and we fell below it 5 weeks. Birch River had 21 students with 5 or less absences the first semester. That's only 30% of the school. We had 22 students with 10 or more absences the first semester, so 30% is okay, 30% not okay. Classrooms with the highest attendance percentage celebrate every Friday with ice cream. Classroom incentives are given when the entire class is present 10 days to track the cell attendance. I did not insert the picture like I was supposed to do, but I thought about it. My ducks are not in the row they need to be sometimes.
I saw, the other day, I saw them in the room when I was
Good.
there. So
I'm glad.
I'll vouch for you.
You can vouch for me, I'm glad you've seen it. I was going to have April take a picture of it because it's nice and neat on our board, but missed that. Field trip incentives for every student who has 2 or fewer absences. We're going to go see Mario Brothers. This is making a difference. The kids are excited about that field trip. And then I have a bicycle setting. As soon as you walk in, I actually rode it into the classrooms when we got it. It was donated. What's that business? Allegheny Surveys donated it to us. So they're excited about that. They're working for that bicycle. They drop their name in a box every day that they're there from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Individual classrooms do dojo points. Points are spent in dojo stores or the principal treasure box. Social workers scheduling meetings with students who are chronically absent to complete a questionnaire and attempt to help parents and students by identifying the problem and then doing morning phone calls. This is just what the form the social worker is going through looks like. That way we can kind of try and partner with those parents and figure out how to get this students there more often. Conclusion, we need to focus on early literacy. That's our biggest need right now. Math, we need to get fact fluency. We need to focus on an attendance system that's proactive and reactive. No split grades would help. Collaboration, time spent for data and planning, substitutes, and we really would like a double door system that separates parents from being able to just walk throughout the school. Any questions?
I thought your double grade classroom is going to be the maximum number of students, and they vary from K through 4 in grade level?
To what? Yeah, inability. The way they're measuring right now, I have students in kindergarten level versus I have a student clear up on 4th grade level.
Is that in the 2nd grade?
That's 2nd grade.
In the 2nd grade, we have kids that K through 4.
Yes.
And that's where you have your most sat.
That's my biggest stat, that's my biggest behavior, that's my biggest group.
You said you had higher percentage of boys in
Yeah.
the school.
Mm-hmm. There's 13 boys in that class.
That made a little difference.
Yeah.
First year I probably had 19 boys and 3 girls.
Yeah.
They were very.
Boys are very kinesthetic.
Glad to
Yeah,
click
you can
correct.
say that. Really?
Yes, very.
And a little dependent.
Another unique fact about that class is 11 out of the 19 are only children of youngest children in their family.
And there's a set of twins in there.
Well, so my first year in the classroom, I had 15 boys and 3 girls. So,
That changes the dynamic of the classroom. I mean, even partnering, it becomes
We feel your pain.
fun.
and kudos to most everybody this evening has said that you protect instructional time, and I appreciate that. And the other day, I was impressed because your principal had a child in her office working with her when I got there, and she said, "I'll send them back." I said, "No, I'll wait." And so when they were finished, she took me a tour, but good job.
They do a great job.
And I don't know how to.
You have problems like, you listed, you have problems with qualified substitutes.
Awesome.
You listed that you have problems getting qualified substitutes.
I do. There's been several days I don't have subs, so I will go into the classroom myself. Now, sometimes when it's like my stat meeting day, it's in, out, while I'm getting other people to cover it. But I attempt to protect that educational time.
Sure.
Did you have any other questions?
How would you, what would be your suggestion on how we might be able to help you with that problem of your split grades and all that stuff? What would be your recommendation?
I would ask for another teacher. I've got 2 teachers to teach 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I know that's a big ask, but I mean, I'm looking at the amount of standards they have to teach on top of any other classrooms.
Every teacher knows how COVID has hurt the kids, and so our kids are hurt as well, and we only have 2 teachers for 3
I
grades.
can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, everyone's talked about how much COVID has hurt the kids' learning, and our kids are hurting, and there's only 2 teachers for 3 grades. So there's that gap, and then we're creating a bigger gap.
Because we don't have sufficient staff, we feel. And we're the only split in the county. We're the only split that I'm aware of in the county.
This year.
Well, and what you see in kindergarten to 1st, they're teaching, the kindergarten classroom has kids in kindergarten skill level and 1st grade skill level. 2nd grade classroom has kids in a kindergarten and 1st and 2nd. Like in that one slide, it showed they were only teaching skills with a deficit of 2 grade levels. When you hit 2nd grade, you've got 5 grade levels. And then you're compounding that 5 grade levels on trying to fit three curriculums and 3 grade levels into 2 teachers. And I mean, that's a hard task.
No extra planning time. Still just get the 40 minutes that any other teacher would get.
Been there, done that. It's not easy.
And it's not fair to the kids.
All right, thank you. Zayla will get you next time.
Yeah, I always joke every time I talk to Z last letter of the alphabet. I'm used to going last, so it's usually a good thing. You know, the night's almost over, so. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and we've got there's still lots of pepperoni rolls back there. Help yourself, take some back home to the family or kids, so we don't waste anything, if you would please. I want to thank my staff that came out to support our school tonight, Anita, Jeremy, and Sandy. But 7 o'clock comes early, and you still got to be here on time in the morning, okay? But thank you all for coming out and sharing your support. Kimberly, I want to thank her for coming out Friday and making sure all the technology was ready ahead of time. She came out early today, and so I really appreciate that too. Everything worked flawlessly. Demographics, looking at some of our data, no surprise here, 67% of our families are considered in an economically disadvantaged category. And as you know, I'm a Title I school, that hasn't changed, and so that remains. So that affects the way we make some decisions. So with our strategic planning, our needs, we took a look at our strengths and then some of our weaknesses. Some of our strengths, a lot of our staff feels like they're, and I agree, our parent communication, I feel, is really strong here. All of our teachers have some means to communicate with the parents on a daily basis. We've got good relationships with the parents, and that makes it, information just makes it so much easier when there's that type of communication. I'll talk about this more in a little bit. Positive student behaviors. Got a good bunch of kids, they're well behaved. And I attribute that to our PBIS program. Lower class ratios, good staff collaboration. One thing I didn't put on here, but I'll mention, we've got really good differentiation and small group instruction here at this school, and that's been a strength. Targeted, some of our weaknesses are targeted. We still got deficits in language arts and math to address. When you look at the balanced scorecard, we've got a ways to go, but we did meet our targeted growth last year for that as well. So I'm really pleased about that and all the hard work the staff has done for that too. Here's some of the things that, not everything, but some of the things that we work with on ELA and math. This is really important to me, this protected whole group instruction time. We just don't pull the kids out during certain times. We've got 1 hour a day when we do intervention, and that during that same time in the classroom they do small group as well. That way kids are not pulled out there. A lot of teacher collaboration, I believe that's really important. Along with our support people, we do the IXL as well here too, and professional development. I do in the summer. I do a leadership academy. We do that, and I think usually we have 100% participation from the staff, which is outstanding. Every week, and we have PLCs. Every week it's an academic PLC, and then once a month we either do the PBIS or the student staff and support committee, safety committee, school beautification committee, and my staff, they can pick one of those 4 categories, and we do that once a month. PBIS, I really like this program. You may have heard of it, Positive Behavioral Intervention Support. It's run by Marshall University. We've been doing it several years now. Our spin on it is our Responsible Behavior Academy. So, responsible behavior is not just about behaviors, distracting behaviors in the classroom. It's also about working on the type of behaviors that make a child a good student for them to achieve academically. And so we're talking about study skills, listening skills, those types of things. So it's not just about manners, it's not just about how you act. It also deals with academics as well. And I think that's really important. We have a form that we make referrals, and what happens is if a kid, if they need help in something, we do some reteach. We've got an end of the month reward party as well. So we're rewarding those kids. But our whole PBIS program is based on data. And we collect data with these referrals. And the last time I tallied it up, we've got almost 400 this year pieces of data to look at what kids are struggling with and what they're doing well with. And because of that, the people at the PBIS headquarters, they've asked Zila to be considered to be a model school for the entire state, because we're probably right now, because of the WEVIS 2.0, we're probably the only school in the state that's using data to make those types of decisions. And that's a form that I created, Microsoft. Here's an example of some of the data that we collect, and this comes out of an Excel spreadsheet. The names are omitted, of course, but that's just a small piece of it. Here's something else I want to talk about that we really, this has been a theme for Zeal this year, trauma. We want to be a trauma-sensitive school. We need all kids to learn, okay? The data says that nearly 2 out of 3 kids, according to the CDC, will experience some significant trauma before they're 18 years old, okay? I can tell you that's probably true. We see that, and I know you see that all the time, okay? If a kid has been through trauma or they're going through trauma, they're probably not ready to learn. And we can help with that. We work on a lot of different strategies, coping strategies in the classroom, and coordinate that with our specialists, our counselors, our social workers as well. And so that's been, we spent a lot of time with this, and I think it's a great, it's a good thing, and it helps our kids. I think they do better. Trauma, there's 2 different categories. Not just like a traumatic event, like a death in the family or an arrest or something like that, but trauma can also be something that occurs over time, like stress, neglect, okay, these types of things. And sometimes that's hard to detect, whether kids are going through that or not. But it does affect the way that we approach education and how we service those kids. Here are some of the strategies that we use for that, for the trauma. The kids learn to know which zone they're in. Are they sad? Are they happy? Are they focused? Are they calm? We want to be in the green zone, but there's other zones too. And so they learn that, and they do a self-assessment every morning. Okay. That is it. That's everything I have. Are there any questions?
What's your population?
76.
Are you fully staffed with certified?
No. I've had one vacant position open all year, the Title I position, and just can't seem to fill it. It started out, it was a half-time position, which is not, it's tough to fill those when there's better positions open, with the shortage, as you know, in the county. It makes it tough to fill that. That's really hurt us this year, which means I've given up an interventionist for most of the year. So I've had to ask my interventionists to, I still have those 2 Title I interventionists to kind of step up and pick up that slack, but we really missed that. And if there's anything that you all can do to help with that, that would be great. I've been able to get plenty of support, certified teachers to help with substitutes. That hasn't been a problem, but I've had a lot of trouble with service aides specifically. I've got a high population of autistic kids here that have one-on-one aides, and as you can probably imagine, the autistic kids, they get used to one person. It makes for a rough day with a sub. And sometimes often the parents say, no, I don't want to risk it, we'll just keep them home that day. And I hate that, but it is what it is.
You said 76?
Yes. Yeah, we are down a little bit from last year. I think, Sandy, what we were about 80 last year, maybe? Yeah.
Redrew the lines to even bring more students down here.
Yes, had it not been for that, we would probably be in 60. Yeah, absolutely. That was at that time that was an excellent move.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
meeting for the board will be on a regular meeting held on Monday, February 20th, 2023 at the board office. All hearts and minds clear? Everybody good? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. So moved by both of you. How about one of you do a second?
I'll second. Let me second.
Okay, good. Perfect. So we have a motion by Mr. Berry and a second by Dr. Minnis to adjourn. All in favor? At 7:00.